It is my great pleasure now to welcome to the stage as the next moderator, a very dear friend and an excellent professional. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Joanna Tsanidaki, I hope I am pronouncing this correctly, Chief Innovation Officer for Ertico ITS Europe. She will be chairing the session, Enabling Meaningful Change Through Measurable Impact.
Great. I hope we are all ready for the last session of the day before the exciting announcements of IRF. Let me, of course, first thank IRF for this very important invitation to me to moderate such an interesting discussion, such an interesting session. I wanted to remind everyone what was said in the morning by the IRF president, Mr. Benazouz, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, about Ertico ITS Europe. We are a sister organization. We have signed an MOU with IRF so that we can build the bridge between the sector of ITS and the infrastructure and IRF. And exchange best practices and have a closer cooperation. It's a very interesting day. I hope you agree with me. And let's dive immediately to the last session. We have discussed, of course, sustainability, innovation, digitalization. We are talking about smartening our transport. And allow me to call on the stage the first speaker. I would like to start with my co-national, Bill Halkias. He's the second vice president, IBTTA, and immediate past president of IRF. And he's going to be discussing a report that he was involved in on how to tackle climate change and the adversities that we are facing now. Yes, give it up for Bill. I want to remind everyone that we should be short, of course, between 6 and 10 minutes each of the speakers. We are talking about enabling meaningful change through measurable impact. Change is important, but the fact that we can measure it and see the impact is very, very important, because if you cannot measure, it doesn't exist. So, Bill, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joanna Tsanidaki Susanna. That's how you pronounce a Greek name. Good evening, everybody. As Joanna said, I'm past president of IBTTA, the immediate past president, immediate past president of IRF, and now the vice president of IBTTA. With God's help, in 2024, I'll be the president of IBTTA. I'm here to talk about things that we cannot measure, Joanna. And there are some things that we say it's over the proportion, but they have an impact on mobility, they have an impact on infrastructure. So I need to acknowledge, IBTTA in February has presented a report. You see the link here, and I will encourage each and every one of you to follow that link and get some points about items that they're disrupting today the road infrastructure. So we talk about significant events, and when we talk about significant events, this is what sometimes can be measured, sometimes it cannot be measured. What are those? Severe weather, heavy snow and ice, hurricanes, high wind conditions, natural disasters, flooding, fires, earthquakes, man-made disasters, terrorism and insurrections, and plan events, Olympics, sporting events, large public gatherings. Let me tell you, throughout my career, I was able to deal with the three of them: the severe weather, the natural disasters, and the planned events with the 2004 Olympics in Athens. And I got a flavor of another event, this man-made disaster, the terrorism, when I attended the Harvard seminars immediately after 9/11. We were all concerned that the 9/11 of 2001 was going to disrupt the 2004 Olympics in Athens. So I got a flavor of all of them. But I will not talk about all of them. I will talk about only extreme weather events, and especially extreme snowstorm events, not only in countries that they are familiar with this kind of climate, but with countries that they never ever experience this type of events, or when they get it once or twice a year, but the disruption is not being able to be measured. So let's start from the recent events. In January 22, I-95 highway in Virginia outside Washington, D.C., a senator was evacuated by a helicopter. 40-mile stretch of interstate was impossible to traverse. Kentucky, a little bit later, you see people stranded there, an untold number of drivers were left stranded in their vehicles. Texas in February 22, yes, Winter Storm Landon impacted a number of states, and Texas saw a 17-hour backup. Athens, does it snow in Athens? It did. In January 24, 2022, we had a snowstorm. We gave it the name Elpida, and you know the awkward thing here, Joanna, Elpida means hope in English. What kind of hope? 3,500 vehicles were trapped in the Athens Ring Road, and the Greek army was called into evacuating and rescue operation. And more, unusual snowstorm with many people stranded. You see what happened 2014 in Atlanta, Georgia, or in Brown County, New York. That's, I will say, north in the US, but you see the bulldozers being buried. Pennsylvania Turnpike in 2016, historic storms. This is happening also in Europe, in Spain. A storm named Philomena. I don't know why the meteorologists like to give these names all the time, but never, anyway, we associate ourselves with these names. So we had the problem in Europe, in Spain, and in France, where people were stranded overnight. Winter Storm Yuri in February 21, in Austin, Texas. In February 21 again, heavy snowstorm paralyzed northern and central Germany. Motorways were closed. So all of these are nothing else but a description of real climate change. And we should not be saying, the climate change. Climate, it is what it is today. Our generation is the one which is calling it climate change because we lived under different conditions. But my 29-year-old son and my 26-year-old daughter do not know about climate change. They were born and brought up with these kind of conditions. So what are the expectations that transportation professionals face today? Growing expectation from travelers and government officials that the transportation system, and especially the road transportation system, shall not be disrupted. And we should keep it open, and we should be mitigating rapidly afterwards. And in doing so, we need to adapt professionally recognized standards and procedures and extensive training and increased specialization of staff and systems so that we know where we need to operate and when we need to, yes, close down the road. The problem with airlines is that because of the impact of weather conditions, the result can be really fatal. We close down the airports. We do the same thing when we had 10 Beauforts on the sea. But with road, our tires are really touching on ground, so we do think that we should be operating no matter what. So how do we manage to respond to these significant events? We should start planning and prepare for the worst. We need to respond and integrate emergency services there. We need to recover and to reassume the business immediately after the event is over. And then we should again look into what activities and report back into what we have done so that we know for the future. So critical success factors for managing the significant events. Planning and readiness. We need to establish a comprehensive emergency response, considering that the worst can happen. And if it doesn't happen, no one is going to tell us, why did we evacuate Florida last week or the week before? No one is going to tell us when they see the disruption. And everybody will hope that nothing happens, but let's plan for the worst. And we need to continue improve the practice by regular update of the emergency response plan, by use after action reviews and lessons learned, and do drills and exercises simulating. Ongoing situation awareness. Yes, we need to do that all the time. We need to know in real time the operating conditions of our infrastructure. We need to coordinate and contribute to the overall effectiveness of the various mobility options that we have on surface transportation. And we definitely need to establish a central emergency, virtual or physical, I don't care, but definitely has to be, of course, these days, more physical is what we need to do. But even during COVID, we came to deal with virtual operation emergency centers. And we need to coordinate communication because people need to know, and they all need to know the same information, because there are groups of people that they need other kind of information. So we need to assemble and reassemble the information and pass it out with the appropriate channels so everybody has what they need. And now we live in 2022, we should take the role of technology and data very seriously. And we should innovate on new technologies that can have an important role in managing extreme weather events. We need to be making better decisions through information systems. We need to understand the impacts of a response of action on traffic. If we close the road, if we prohibit the tractor trailers coming onto our road, that information needs to be passed to the ferries, to the islands that they carry after that the fleet of all these tractor trailers. And on the meteorological conditions, we need to have the expertise of experts and scientists that they can tell us about the increase of the emergency preparedness, the better understanding of the confidence of the weather forecast. We need to have a confidence level on this forecast. And of course, we need to integrate data into metrics, as this panel talks about, that can promptly specify the transportation decisions. So we need to leverage existing business and processes and systems. We need to determine the risks that they are associated with possible disruption and failures. We, of course, if we take preventive action, will disrupt the supply chain. But if we don't take, and then we have closures, what is going to be the result of this kind of things? What is going to be to the supply chain that now sensitive type of loads are being blocked on the road? The asset management programs that we need, they have to support all kind of preventive measures and resilient protections. And we need to take a long-term view on the resilience of the infrastructure. And yes, we need to change the design standards. The design standards of the 90s and the early 2000s are not there to support today's climate. So we need to change those designs. But when we have to deal with the unforeseen, the unexpected, and the large proportion, the large kind of impact, then we need to have a common language with the authorities. We're operating roads, in our case, toll roads, in the cases of many people on this room, any kind of other road infrastructure, either as being road operators, either as being government officials, or being consultants to them. So we need to understand how we can work together and create the so-called unified incident command structure. You know, I'll give you a very good example. On 9/11, when the plane fell on the Pentagon, it was not a general with all these stars that took over the whole operation. It was the deputy fire chief of the small town of Arlington, Virginia, in the jurisdiction of which he was in charge. He put up the jacket that said incident commander, and everybody, including the generals, were under his orders. So we need strong coordination and practices among all public transportation agencies. We need to communicate among the most important emergency management functions, and we need to streamline management and decision making. So the way to deal with extreme events, and please don't take it from me, look at the literature and look at other things. I'm finishing with this. Say, ensure clear public leadership by setting up this unified incident command structure. Consider fully the impacts of actions of one part of the network and the others. If we close a road, we also keep it away from bus services. We maybe use to the train or other forms of land transportation, and institute a high alert procedures and mechanisms. So with that, I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Don't take it, as I said, from me. Look at the literature, and let's respond to all of that.
Thank you so much. This is very important guidelines, and based on the literature, as you said, can we gain some time by asking all the speakers to join us on the stage while I'm calling the second speaker, Motohiko Nishibayashi, Senior Executive Expert, International Business and Cooperation Office, Hansen Expressway, to the stage. And you're going to share with us some very important examples of innovation and how you're managing the infrastructure in terms of safety, maintenance, and traffic. Thank you very much.
It's an honor to be here. My name is Nishibayashi from Japan. I belong to the highway corporations, which is equivalent of ADM. We have about 200 kilometers long stretch of the highways in Osaka, Japan, in urban settings, so consisting of the viaduct structures. So we have bridges, and we manage the highways since 1962. Why I am here to be invited to be this international conference is we have a good relationship with ADM. We agreed at the MOU to agree to exchange the technical issues because we have a same situation there. So since then, that we have good relationships, and that's why I'm here. So when I thinking about the sustainability of the roads, I myself think because the highways itself is very safe and sustainable structures, because we have highway is separate from non-motorized vehicles, no level crossings, high standard pavement, and wider shoulders. But how to keep this sustainable, safe, and environmental-free structure is maintenance. Because this is a very important asset to keep these structures in a good conditions. So that maintenance is, I think, is the best tool to keep sustainability of the roads. So when you think about the maintenance, it's maintenance where you think as it's converted to the human bodies, it's more like a health care. So health care to keep the human body in a good conditions. So in a human bodies, the medical society is well renowned, but the maintenance is sometimes, especially for the structures, sometimes is not taken as seriously. So when we think about the maintenance, is the better way to do the maintenance is preventive maintenance. So keep watching the structure all the time to make interventions before it gets too late. So it's sustained a long-term health of the conditions in a very long time before. If it is waiting too late, sometimes it's going to be leading to the collapse of the bridges, or takes a very big amount of money to repair the structures. So there's a lot of damage factors of this maintenance for the structures in asphalts, earthworks, bridges. Mostly the bridge, we're focusing on the bridges because the bridge has aging factors. If it's getting too old, it's getting deteriorated, which is the same as human body as well. So this is the Japanese statistics of the damage ratio of the structures compared with the age of the structures. So when you see this statistic says that after 40 years, the damage is accelerated. It's more like a middle-age crisis for the people like me. So it's obvious, it's also well understood that in concept that the maintenance is a tool for sustainability. But also, we've been thinking the other side of the aspects of the maintenance. The maintenance is a total engineering. So, as you know, that the inspection, the maintenance include inspection, watching the structures, and after the inspection, that we evaluate the result of the inspection to make a right decision whether it's put onto the repairing or not. And if we decided to repair, we put in a design and make a planning. And if in the public sectors, we prepare the budgeting, and then we execute the repair works. So each aspect is its own expertise, and also it's needed technologies and engineering professionals. Also, the maintenance is experience. Experience is sometimes stay in the professionals as individuals, but also the keeping the database. Keeping the data for the record of the history of the deteriorations and inspection results, or the repairing record is very important to keep the accumulating experience. And another aspect is maintenance is local. The maintenance, unlike the super big projects, it's more like international aspect. Maintenance is continuous and stay for very long time, so that instead of handing on to the international players, it's much better to keep it in the local entities. So this is the case for the Hanshin Expressway is involved in more like localized projects to handing over the skills to the Morocco. This is one of the inspection methodologies called the Ninja Tech, which use the rope technologies to keep the inspector can access to the anywhere around the bridges to inspect. So that we ADM and Hanshin collaborate and to train at least 6 engineers from ADM, 1 engineer from ONCF to master the rope technology. Now this technology can be now used in local inspection works for the bridges. But also this Ninja Tech is very important for the other industry, like in Japan, that this is the only technology can inspect and repair the windmill generator blades. Again, and also mainly the maintenance is very analog, primitive way, just very continuous to use the human knowledge and also human actions. But sometimes recently we used a lot of technologies to assist the maintenance. I'll show you one of the example. It's just the pavement inspection technology is called DREAMS. So this is developed collaborate with the university in Japan, and now it's the IRI, roughness index measurement by iPhone applications, so that you just put in the application in iPhone, the accelerometers inside the iPhone can detect the movement of the vehicle that translated into the IRI index. Also, the result is using the GPS for mapping and mapping in any mapping applications, and also that the iPhone can videotape the image of the road surface, and putting into the deep learning by AI just can detect any irregularities on the surface of the roads. Also for the sloping, earthwork sloping, that we can use the drones to detect, to take a video, to take photos, that the photo was mapped, and to show that the sign of the water flood or the movement of the earth. So I think it's the maintenance. I don't know that this is measurable or not, but the maintenance is actually the ultimate solution to keep the sustainability of the roads, and also that leads to the other smart application on the roads, like autonomous driving, so that they keep the maintenance, keep the good roads sustainably. That leads to the better smart way to use the roads. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Actually, I said it just a minute ago, but my other speakers in the panel are not joining us. Can you join us, please? I'm here. So we populate the panel, and then we don't have to lose the precious time. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Nishibayashi. Very important. Maintenance is a priority for safety, of course, and preventing maintenance is exactly what the topic was about from Japan. And let's go to Brazil. with Julio Ursua, Global Projects Director from IRAP. You're going to share some best practices with us, hopefully, and on investments as well.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for the invitation to this International Conference for Sustainable Mobility. So I'm going to talk about the IRAP methodology and how it has been applied for road concessions, and especially I will show the case of Brazil. I'm conscious of the time, so I know that it has to be a quick presentation. So first of all, the road accidents are paid by basically the health sector, also the insurance companies, and the long-term care, and also the business and families that we know that they pay the cost of the road accidents. Also, the solutions for safety, we know that they are divided into basically the road user, so the behavior of the user, the road itself, and the vehicle. And in the case of the road, the IRAP statistics show that 40% of the roads around the world are still 1 or 2 star standard. This is very low standard in general. So IRAP is been applying its technology, basically the star ratings methodology. We have done projects in more than 100 countries. We have more than 3 million kilometers. Maybe it's one of the largest database of kilometers around the world. And we have been making possible investment of more than $96 billion. Also, we have launched local programs in some countries, such as in China, in Thailand, in Malaysia, Brazil, recently in Tanzania. So the 2030 SDG targets are very clear, especially the target 3 and 4, and I will focus on the target 3. This is not written by IRAP, but by the WHO. By 2030, all new roads achieve technical standards for all road users that take into account road safety or meet a 3-star rating or better. Therefore, this is a global standard that has been putting in place. So one of these applications of the road assessments programs of the IRAP program has been especially in the road concessions. And I'm going to take a little bit about the case of Brazil. The first highway concession in Brazil was in 1994, and the boom of the concessions was in the 2000s. Then there was a new concessions decade, and this new concessions decade in the country gave us the opportunities for implementing technological innovations. So here there is the PIPA concession that is there. There are more than 4,000 kilometers of concessions in Brazil that they have the IRAP methodology as the KPI. So the concessions, they have to, in the contract, they have to measure the level of stars in order to measure the level of safety of this concession. This PIPA is an acronym that it means Piracicaba Panorama. The concession is more than 1,000 kilometers, just one road, and some data there about this concession. There you see a picture of the local authority of the state of Sao Paulo in Brazil with the concessionaire. It's the largest concession in Brazil, 1,273 kilometers, integrating 62 cities in one state. The capex is 2.7 billion euros, and it's a concession of 30 years. And as I said before, in the contract, they have to measure the road safety using the metrics of IRAP. These are the actors of the PIPA concession. So Artesp is the authority in Brazil. with the advisors of the IFC, BNDES, which is a local bank in Brazil, Inter-American Development Bank, and on the technical expertise to put together this concession was Pavesis, which is an accredited supplier of IRAP, and the investors are GIC and Grupo Patria. It's a Patria group. The concession is Eixo, São Paulo. So basically, and I will not take more than 1 minute on this, I cannot explain everything, but the IRAP methodology is it's a process that creates finally a star rating. Every 100 meters, you have the level of safety ranging from 1 star to 5 stars, and this also creates a detailed planning for investment and also star rating details. In the case of this concession, we needed to change a little bit the last part, and we work on the compatibility of the IRAP investment plan with other investment plans. We did a simulation of what we call the star rating score, so the level of safety that is every 100 meters, and we created finally the concession road safety KPIs. So this is the whole process that we followed to make possible that this concession, as I said before, incorporated the IRA methodology. So you see there how the concession will change from, let me go, can I go back? Can I go back 1 slide or not? Because I wanted to, let me see. No. Okay, but this is, yeah. So this is how it is now. And as you see, with the time, the concession will start changing the colors, because the more dark is the worse, and this is how it's going to look like at the end of the concession. So there you see how the PIPA concession was structured from year 0 to year 30, and every kilometer it has a level of safety that it has to attain. This is really important because this is, as I said before, is the first case in Brazil. There's a bonus if the concessionaire gets a certain level of stars. There's no penalty, only a bonus. So if they don't reach the level of safety that it was required, nothing happens. But if they get the level of safety, they will get a bonus. So the concessionaire has the opportunity to improve their ranking, and with a reward by the monetary bonus. So there you see some part of the contract, which is in Portuguese language, that shows this bonus. So thank you so much. If you have any questions later, we'll be around to talk more about concessions and the application of the IRAM methodology. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this very interesting example of Brazil and the IRAP road safety KPIs and methodology. I would like to pass the floor to Olga Gonzalez, who is head of marketing in Valeran, and she's going to share with us some information on satellite technology supporting integrated mobility during major events. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, bonjour, and good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for the invitation. I'm Olga Gonzalez, and I represent Valeran. I am absolutely sure you have not heard about us, but I'm also sure that you will hear about us very soon. So today we've heard a lot about challenges that transportation industry faces, and pretty much every presenter has mentioned that cost, sustainability, climate change, environment, and the big unknown are big concerns for everybody. So a few numbers for you. All of these numbers impact our lives in terms of economics, and I would like to respectfully disagree with Bill that pretty much everything, I think, can be measured. And the first number I would like to say is that congestion costs us a lot of money. Hours lost in congestion is staggering. London leads the league. 148 hours a year people lose in traffic. Road collisions cost 3% of country GDP. That's been mentioned before me. It is a very large number. And transportation is the largest contributor to CO2 emission and accounts to 72% of total CO2 emission. So what do we do about it? Well, I guess we can mitigate that if we use data. And yes, it was not possible previously. It is becoming more and more possible now, thanks to technologies, thanks to cloud computing, thanks to sensors, that we can collect quality data and we can process it. So let's just think about a normal day, usual day at the traffic control center. So traffic operators sit in the control room and they have dozens of screens and they look at them, and on average they receive about 50 million objects detected on the road, tens of millions vehicle data points, millions of vehicle counts, in tens of hundreds weather alert notifications, etc., etc., etc. So yes, we started collecting data from other sources other than just existing road infrastructure, but we still don't know quite well what to do with that. So let's just think that if we take all data from all sources and we blend them smartly, we clean the data, we deduplicate, we remove noise, we cross-reference events, and we have quality data and outcome, and then we run analytics on that set of data, we can get pretty impressive results. So this is how our algorithm works. So let's say this is a road. An average road has a bridge, a toll booth, a tunnel, another bridge, another tunnel. So in many countries, crowdsourcing applications such as Waze are being used. And beauty of this application, it gives a lot of data. Drawback of that application, it gives a lot of data. And you don't know how to trust this data, because if there is an incident on the road and 10 people pass that incident and 10 people report that incident, the operator gets 10 different alerts. And they don't know what to do with that. And 10 different alerts are different because 10 different people perceive the same event differently. So if we take machine vision cameras, the camera can identify pedestrian on the roads or stopped vehicle. Then we take weather, and it's rain and fog. And it's kind of an isolation and still doesn't paint you a picture. Then we blend that all together, and operators can see, well, it's either slow traffic, slow speed, or it's a traffic jam, and still don't know what to do with it. They don't know the cause of that event. So when we process that data, blend together, and run analytics on that, we call it data fusion engine. We analyze and we tell the operators that if it is a road work and that pedestrians on the road, they expect it, and it's rain, okay, it's low speed, yeah, high risk of traffic jam, but it's road work, so don't pay attention to it. It's fine. In contrary, if we have traffic jam, we have stopped vehicle on the road, and we have hazard on the road, then we run analytics and we'll say, okay, well, there is a high risk of incident, and it may be a major incident, so dispatch patrol vehicle. So in a nutshell, we identify probabilities of events happening, we clean data, we profile risks, we provide operators with clarity what's happening on their roads, and we provide visibility, monitoring visibility of the road 100%. So data is key now, and I think that's what is our future now. So measuring impact is possible. We just need data, a lot of data, and high quality data. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. I always like a good debate. Can we measure everything or can we not, as Bill said? So I think the answer lies somewhere in the middle, because you were talking about data, good quality data from what we know from before or real time, and Bill was talking about unpredictable events. Let me call our last speaker, and I would kindly ask for your patience because we are running out of time, of course. But of course, it's our last speaker in a very, very important day, an interesting day. Mr. Kiran Kapila, Chairman ICT and President Emeritus of IRF, who is going to talk to us about a case study from India on road safety and the 5 E's. And I was in the session before that we held in the room next door, and it was engineering of vehicles, engineering of infrastructure, education, enforcement, and I'm missing the 5th one. The floor is yours.
My colleagues on the dais and off the dais. Road safety was first thought as a problem in the United Nations when 100 ministers of transport gathered together in Moscow to discuss this issue and came out with a resolution which is called Decade of Action Plan. I was perhaps the only non-minister in that meeting as president of the International Road Federation. The world started working on road safety and felt that we are doing a good job and will reduce the road accidents by 50% by 2020. But nothing of that sort happened. We ran many programs, from star rating to many others in education, some in emergency care, but failed. And failed because we never worked collectively on all the issues together, unless and until you work on a road on all the 5 E's together, road safety cannot be brought in. And the 5 E's are engineering of roads. That is what the IRF does. But it doesn't cover the other 4. We have spent billions of dollars and not attained the safety on those roads because we did not do the other 4. And they are the engineering of vehicles and policy corrections, education and mass awareness, enforcement, and emergency care. So the need of the hour is to work on all the 5 E's together and bring in road safety. I'll briefly elaborate on the various E's. The engineering of roads is a well-known subject to all engineers, and we do a detailed kilometer by kilometer study of the road, bring out what needs to be done in terms of removal of deficiencies that we find on the road, to make them forgiving. And that is what is needed and covered under the engineering of roads. The engineering of vehicles is well known again, that you have to provide seat belts, you have to provide ABS, you have to provide various safety measures in the vehicles, which are being done by various manufacturers to various degrees. But policy correction is another very important aspect. And policy correction is like provisioning of front underrun cover, FUPD, side under-end protection, rear under-end protection. You all know that the truck bodies are higher. And if a car goes inside the truck, irrespective of the make of car, irrespective of its quality, the person is bound to die. So what do? We provide under-end protections on all the three sides of these high body vehicles. We have got this done in India under the CMVR rules, the Central Motor Vehicle rules. But what do you do with the old vehicles which are already on the road? And then we have passed a law that if you provide these within 30 days, and if you don't do it, your vehicle will be impounded, these will be retrofitted, and you will be given back with a charge of 2.5 times the cost which it would have been done if you had done it yourself. So idea is to make them sensitized that if you don't do and obey the rules, you have to pay, and yet it gets done. Like that, there are many interventions. The other one is reflective tapes. You see, the conspicuity is an important area, again, on the roads. All roads, particularly the highways, are not lighted. So when the vehicles are moving there or is parked wrongly at some place and is not visible, chances of accidents are enormously high. And therefore, the need of providing reflective tapes on the sides of the vehicles. Similarly, this exercise has been done. There is a law which requires these to be provided, and if you don't provide them, again we do the same thing, impound the vehicle, get it done. These are some of the corrections. Another one which we have now passed is the Good Samaritan law, that if an accident victim is taken to a hospital, the hospital authorities cannot refuse to attend to him. No money is to be deposited. For the first 72 hours, the state takes care of him and he is given the medical assistance. No hospital in India, a private or government, can refuse an accident victim. And I believe we should all, in all countries, provide for this, that an accident victim has to be treated with care without worrying for the finances. The next aspect is the education and mass awareness. We need to educate the children right from the earlier years so that road safety is ingrained in their mind and they become more responsible citizens as far as roads behavior is concerned. For this, for the mass awareness and for road safety in education in schools, IRF has prepared a 1-minute anthem in all languages of India and 10 foreign languages which cover the world. This anthem needs to be spread far and wide. The only people who have done so in good measure are the Chinese. They have started using it in their factories. When a shift starts, the 1-minute anthem on road safety starts with it. And that's how they are trying to build the road safety mass awareness in their country. We have it in all languages. It is available, and you can take it from IRF. And please try and use it in your countries, in your own language. This mass awareness program, and we have got some short films prepared which demonstrate the outcome and why road safety is so important. And these should be screened before a commercial film is screened so that there is a captive audience to see what is necessary. The next one is enforcement. In this, we have trained the police personnel in traffic management and in accident data collection. For paucity of time, I will not go into the details of this. The last one is the emergency care. And under this, on the roads where we are trying to bring in road safety, which in fact we are working on 7 states, on 7 different stretches, which are the worst affected stretches as far as road safety is concerned. And all the 5 E's are being covered there to showcase to the world that when you work on all the 5 E's, road safety is brought in. And on these roads, what we have done is, as far as emergency care is concerned, we have identified through GIS mapping which are the hospitals, which are the medical facilities available. And then we have studied that, what are the actual facilities available, and then a gap analysis has been done to identify what more needs to be done to make them fit for trauma care attention to the accident victims. So this gap analysis has been passed on to the Ministry of Health of the respective states to provide for additional facilities which are necessary. So that way we would have hospitals, facilities available which would be able to assist the accident victims. The other thing which we have done is we have trained the bystanders on these roads. Bystanders are people who are living along the roads, whether it is a tea stall owner or it is a small shop or it's a school or it's a municipality office. Each one of them, whoever is willing to undertake training and is able-bodied, has been trained in the first aid trauma care program. This first aid trauma care program has been finalized with assistance of WHO and the Ministry of Health. Earlier, we used to have in this country and all over the world today even, one is a Red Cross program, there is another John Hopkins program, but all these programs of first aid are not meant purely for trauma. So we have created just one program which is for trauma care. And it is that training which has been imparted. So ladies and gentlemen, my only appeal to you is, if you want to bring in road safety in your country, on any road, please work on all the 5 E's together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Road safety first, and then the other priorities, as was also said in the morning. We unfortunately don't have the time to have an interesting discussion, but I'm sure during the break or after, people and participants can come to you and receive more information. Please join me in thanking this excellent panel.